What up, y'all? It's the Real Ball Watcher. Grab your binoculars, and I'm back. And we doing a college eval today. Enough of the Panther stuff. Let's go ahead and get into it. Ashton Jeanty. Now, if you have not, go ahead, like this video, subscribe, go follow the Instagram and TikToks at the Real Ball Watcher. Once we hit 1,000 subs, I'm going to be doing a giveaway. 2 free tickets to an NFL game for you and a +1. Hopefully we can hit that. I think we're like 40 away, maybe even 30. Let's get to 1,000 subs so I can do this giveaway. But let's get into the video. Now, I got a hot take about Ashton Jeanty. I'm going to go ahead and start out with it. I think for certain teams, Ashton Jeanty should probably be the #1 pick in the draft. Hot take. I get it. But for certain teams, this dude is a nut. Reason being, he's one of the best prospects I've ever seen coming out. He literally... let me not even get into that. He's just one of the best prospects I've ever seen. I think he'll be able to flip an offense on its head day one. Coming in day one. He's that good. But let's get into the stuff. He's 5'9", 215, just a ball of running through people. 21 years old. He's a true junior. Maybe he might be 20 actually. Wears #2. So if you're watching the film and it doesn't show up with the arrow, that's who he is. Freshman year, 156 carries, 820 yards, 7 tutties. 14 catches, 155 yards. Next year, 220, 1,347, 14 tutties, 43 catches, 569 yards, 5 touchdowns. But that's not the stats I want to talk about. This year, in 4 games, he's played 5, but really in 4 games because he sat out the second half of 2 games because they were just blowing him out. He has 1,031 yards and 16 touchdowns on 95 carries. I don't think y'all understand what I'm telling y'all. The man is doing something that you should not be able to do. He is running away with the Heisman for me. Also, Dane Brugler put out this tweet. For context, Barry Sanders needed 130 carries to surpass 1,000 rushing yards to start the year that he broke the record, the FBS record for most rushing yards in a season at 2,628. Ashton Jeanty needed 90 carries to pass 1,000 yards. That's 40 carries less than Barry Sanders needed. He's on a tear right now. I don't think there's anybody that is competing with him for the Heisman. Not only that, Boise State, mark this down, Boise State will make the playoffs. They are running through everybody in the Mountain West. Nobody is going to play with them. Their best bet is UNLV, who is also a ranked team, I want to say, but they might not be after they just lost. Nobody's touching Boise State. They're going to run away with the Mountain West. They've already played the #3 team in the country and lost on a game-losing field goal against Oregon. If they continue to win out, and with this pace that Ashton Jeanty's on, they will. They are going to make the playoffs, and he's going to win the Heisman by a large margin. And that's going to push him into not only the first round, but I think into the top 10, maybe top 5 of the draft. But let's get into why I think that. You already should know, but if you don't know, let's go ahead. We're going to start out with the strengths for your boy Ashton Jeanty, and we might be here for a while, so lock in. First thing you got to mention is that contact balance. I mean, bro, he's impossible to take down by yourself, especially if you're not wrapping up. If you think you're going to be able to come down and lay a big hit on him and not wrap up, buddy, he's going to bounce off. He's like one of those 3-sided objects, like the little triangle things where if you knock it over, somehow it's still up on his side. That's what Ashton Jeanty is. He's going to bounce around, keep his balance somehow. I mean, bro, when he was playing Oregon, as an Oregon fan myself, I'm sitting here panicking every time I see the quarterback turn his back, whether it was play action or not. Just the thought of him getting the ball, because there's nobody on the defense who could simply corral him and tackle him by themselves. I mean, bro, he's able to bounce off of linemen. He's able to bounce off of linebackers. He's able to bounce off of safeties, especially. He just has he's really small, really compact frame. He has a lot of power in his legs and in his upper body. So when you hit him and he's moving as fast as he is, he's just able to bounce off of guys. I mean, it's an uncanny ability to just not go down. I mean, I don't even know what to compare it to. He just won't go down. The runs that you see is stuff that you would see on like TikTok edits from college football or from a Madden franchise, face of the franchise, of a video game. Just a dude breaking 1,000 tackles. He has 99 break tackle. Like, it's annoying to the point where you're playing against him like, dog, it's must-see TV when you're watching. But if you're playing against him, you're always holding your breath like, dog, if he gets the ball, he's gonna get positive yardage. Like, you need to win at the point of attack with the offensive line with multiple guys just to ensure that he doesn't break off a 7+ yard run because he's that good when it comes to his contact balance. So I'm sure I have plenty of clips to show y'all, but his contact balance is, dog, it's out of this world. He might have the best contact balance I've seen from the NFL to college right now. I feel like if you put him in the NFL right now, he would be bouncing off of guys just like he is in college. It's crazy. Next thing I wanted to talk about, he has really good power also. He's not just a bowling ball or, what was that, a pinball, like I compared, dang, what's the dude that got drafted to the Ravens last year? I can't remember off the top of my head. Not the Ravens, the Cardinals, the running back. He's not like a pinball only. Like, he's not just going to be able to bounce around and get hit by guys and just bounce off of them. He will lower his shoulder and run through you. It was very rarely that I seen him not fall forward on tackles. I think I seen one tackle for sure that he went backwards on for a loss of yards. Or he fell backwards, I should say. But most of the time, he was breaking a tackle and falling forward, putting his chest into guys. And also, bro, he will carry a pile by himself. I've seen it multiple times where he's just running with so much power and viciousness that if y'all have him wrapped up top and nobody's on his legs, he's going to be able to push that pile. I mean, plenty of times. He's going to be your explosive back, the guy that you want to get the ball to most of the times, but you're not going to want to take him off the field in no short yardage situation. Hey, we need a yard. Hey, we're on the goal line and we know we're going to be running into 4 guys' arms. This is the guy that you want to do that because he has a lot of power. I mean, look at his legs. Talked about how short he is. He's already super low to the ground, low man's wings. He's very compact and he has a lot of power and strength in his legs. He's really thick at the bottom of his legs, paws, when it comes to his thighs and things. So he's able to just get a lot of push from his legs to run through tackles, to run through guys' chests, to push piles. So he has a lot of power, and on top of the contact balance that he already has. That's why it just makes him a menace to tackle, because it's like, even if you're able to get a good hit on him, you maybe lay a good pop on him, which is going to take a lot to do that. He's able to bounce off of that. Or if you aren't able to, you know, corral him or get a good angle on him, he can run through you, whether it's an arm tackle or not. He can put his shoulder down and run through you. I've seen him run guys over. So really, really good power. One of the strongest backs probably in his class. Might be the strongest back in his class. I don't know. Because contact balance and power is not the same thing. Contact balance is more being able to stay on your feet no matter through whatever contact it is. Power is more you're delivering the punch. So he has both of those, which is great. Another thing I want to talk about, he has his elusiveness. He's not just, that's the thing, man. He's not just a power back. He's super elusive. He has so many cuts, jukes, spin moves that he's able to pull out of his bag. I mean, I think it was a defensive tackle on his team where he was doing an interview with some podcast, I don't know, and he was talking about the difference between playing Ashton Jeanty or practicing against him. He's like, dog, the stuff that he do in practice and he's able to go do it on the field is nuts. But they were talking about, hey, what's the difference between practicing against him and then other backs? He was like, against Ashton Jeanty, I'm not necessarily quoting word for word, but just paraphrasing. Against Ashton Jeanty, no matter what way you want, he can win. He can shake you out of your shoes. He can jump over you, which he does have the explosiveness and athleticism to jump over guys. We've seen it. He can jump over you. He can run through you. He can bounce off of you. He's able to do everything, and it shows in his elusiveness. One of the best parts of his game is his cutbacks and able to reverse field on guys and bounce it outside because he's so elusive, and shake guys or spin moves in the hole to kind of break outside. He's super elusive, also super powerful, great contact balance. He has everything. He's a video game running back. He is a video game running back. He reminds me a lot of Bajan, but somehow better, which is nuts to me. Somehow better, but yeah, really good elusiveness, really good power, really good contact balance. Also, his burst and speed. A lot of the times last year he did get caught from behind a couple times, but it seems like this year he's kicked it into a new gear to where he gets in an open space and he has a lead on guys. You're not catching him. He has so many long touchdowns, like 50, 60 yards, 70-yard touchdowns, where he's just outrunning the defense. He has, I don't know what his speed will be. I don't think he's a 4.3 guy. Probably like low 4.4s, maybe even high 4.4s, low 4.5s. I don't know. Low 4.5s might be undershooting him, but he has the speed to get out of there and win. beat guys in a foot race downfield, but also his burst and explosiveness. Whenever he sees a hole, he's able to hit that hole before it closes every single time. It's like he's moving at a faster pace than everybody else is, and I know that's what you kind of want to hear when you're playing at a lower level of competition, since he's in the Mountain West. But he looked like that against Oregon. Like, he had that same exact burst and explosion and speed against Oregon. And Oregon, we know, don't have any problem with the athletes that they're able to recruit and get. So that burst and that speed and that explosiveness that he has, man, it's just uncanny. Like I said, he's not a Chris Johnson. He's not running 4.2. He's not even running 4.3 most likely. He's in the 4.4s. But his game speed, maybe he'll run 4.5, but his game speed, he when he's getting chased, he's going to kick it into the next gear. And when he sees a hole, no matter how small, no matter how far away from it he's able to cut back and explode through that hole, or just head up, go ahead and explode through that hole. Wow, real pause. But or maybe not. But yeah, he's really good burst and explosiveness and speed, especially. Next thing I wanted to talk about, he has really, let me say this, he has, I want to say, B+ vision, since we're talking about cutbacks and explosiveness, things like that. His vision is really, really good. I don't know if I would say it's necessarily elite, but I say he has B+, maybe A-, could get better vision, because he's going to be able to hit a cutback lane. I mean, the run can be front side, and he'll find the cutback lane all the way backside in the C gap if he needs to. A lot of the times, the lane that he does find is very, very shallow, very small, and he's kind of in a muddied, I don't want to say pocket, but a muddied up area that he's running into. He's able to bounce it outside, but the reason why I say his vision is good, because you don't want guys to consistently just bounce it outside every play they can. When it looks muddy, we're going to bounce it outside. We're just going to go outside. He doesn't. He bounces it backside to the B gap. He bounces it backside to the A gap, C gaps even. Like if he's running to the B gap on the front side, he's able to bounce it to the backside C gap, which I already mentioned. But that just shows he has really good vision. He lets his blocks develop. Even if it looks like, hey, these blocks aren't necessarily about to win, he's able to let those develop and hit the hole that is created from that. Or let's say that there is no hole and there's a free defender coming through, he can manipulate the gaps that he needs to, or he can manipulate the defenders to create a gap with his jukes, his elusiveness, and then be able to explode through those. So I want to say B+ vision, maybe even A-. It's not necessarily elite, the best vision you're going to see in the world, but he does have good vision, and that also goes into his patience. I talked about how he's able to just let blocks develop. He's able to follow his blockers even when it doesn't look like it's there. He's able to kind of slow down. He's not on Le'Veon Bell, Jonathan Brooks level where it's like, okay, he's walking or jogging to the line and waiting for something, a crease to open and then going. If he did, he would be one of the most dangerous people on earth. But he has good enough patience to where he can wait. He's not necessarily always in a hurry. Like I said, he's not always bouncing it to the outside when nothing's there. It's like, all right, nothing's here. I'm not even going to try to create anything. I'm not even going to wait a second for something to open up. I'm just get outside. He's not one of those guys. He's not DeAndre Swift or something like that. He has the patience to where if you have something schemed up and blocked, he's going to wait for that not to work. Whether your puller is slow, the tight end is coming across the line slow, whatever it is, he'll put his hand on their back. Hey, we're going to go through this together and see how this block pans out, and then I'll be able to create something if it's not there. So really good patience, really good vision. I'll give him a B+, maybe A- for both of those. And with that physical skill set that he does have, that's plenty of enough, as we've seen, for him to be a game-wrecking player. So what's next? I want to talk about his hands. He, I think, is going to be, as you see his last year, 569 receiving yards and 5 touchdowns, 43 catches. Really, really soft hands. I talked about this in the Jonathan Brooks video. Trey Benson was the dude I was thinking about for the Cardinals. Just hit me, thank God. But talked about this in the Jonathan Brooks video. He has really soft hands. He's not necessarily making one-hand catches or anything, but there's plenty of times where he's able to catch it outside of his frame. He's able to jump up and get it, or put his hands out, put his pinky together and make a catch. And also, what is kind of underrated with the backs, or when it comes to receiving game, is not only do you need to catch the ball, because catching the ball, while it is difficult for some backs, it's not the hardest thing to do. Being able to catch and transition into running smoothly without making it a chore to catch, that's what really makes you a good receiving back, at least at a bare minimum level, especially with the guys we got in the league like Kamara and McCaffrey today. But at the bare minimum level, be able to catch the ball, have soft hands, be able to catch outside your frame, that's a plus. But also to be able to translate that into carrying the ball freely, almost like another handoff or a toss. You get into your run after catch easily. He's one of those guys that's able to do that. He's able to catch the ball with good soft hands, nice hands outside his frame or not, but also just transition into the run, set up defenders to miss downfield and create explosive plays. I mean, seeing how explosive he is whenever he's getting a handoff and it's muddied up, imagine him in space. Now, he's not the greatest receiving back of all time, which we can cover later, but he's going to be a good enough weapon as a receiving back for fantasy or just even in your passing offense where, hey, we need to check it down. He's going to be able to get us 5+ yards with how crazy he is, elusive, strong contact balance he is in the open field after the catch. And you can even scheme up maybe screens or swing passes. We've seen Panthers fans know the screen pass that we schemed up for Chuba that got him that touchdown. I want to say it was against the Raiders, maybe, where it's kind of like we had Jonathan Mingo go out in the flat. He's not even necessarily running the route. He's just waiting to block somebody. You flip it out to him very fast. He's able to make a play. Ashton Jeanty will be very dangerous on plays like that. A lead blocker in open space in a 2-on-1 scenario, man, all he got to do is make one guy miss and the other guy pick up a block. He might be out of there. So really is going to be a positive in a receiving game. I mean, bro, he's great all around. Like, whatever metric you want to look at, he's really good at it. Like, there isn't necessarily something that, hey, he got hawked from behind a couple times, but we've seen that this year that's not necessarily a issue or a weakness for him because he's been able to get those explosive runs and finish. I mean, even if it was, that's not necessarily such a bad thing because he's still getting those explosives. It's just, hey, he might not be able to, he'll be able to get a 30-40 yard run instead of a 70-yard touchdown, but he doesn't have that issue, so it doesn't even matter. He's just really good at all facets of the game. The last thing I want to talk about, he's great in pass pro. I want to say the year before, because most of the film I watched was from last year and only 2 games of this year. The year before, he didn't show as much of a willingness to kind of get in the dirt and get his face muddy when it comes to pass pro. But this year, especially against Oregon and all the blitzes they brought, he was putting his face right in your face mask and punching you in your face if you blitz, if you were a free blitzing linebacker. He had a lot of good, impressive pass pro pickups. So not only is he going to be an asset in the receiving game, you're going to be able to rely on him to lay a boom on somebody and lay a hit on somebody in a pass pro. Now, sometimes he did get beat because there was one, I want to say, where it's Jeffrey Bossa or somebody who ran through his chest. Maybe not even ran through his chest. They just hit each other. Really, it was a good collision. He kind of got tripped up and he was able to get to the quarterback. I think he threw the ball anyway. But that shows that he's not necessarily going to win every single rep. But he won enough reps with me where I was like, hey, I'm putting this down. And it was in other games too where he won a couple reps last year and things like that, where I'm like, all right, he has it in him. It just has to be the willingness to do it. And he's been showing the willingness this year for me. So that's a positive for him also. But that's all I got for his strengths. I mean, basically, to sum it up, he's good or great at everything. Or maybe he's great to elite at everything. Like, he's just that good at running back. So that's why I think that in the proper scenario that he could probably go #1 if you want him to. Because I think if you get a good 8-9 years out of this guy at the level that he's playing now, he has potential to be the best running back in the league and be an engine to an offense. So, you know, that's my hot take. He might be able to go #1 in the draft. Depending on who's picking #1. If you got a quarterback and you're picking him 1 because he's hurt, or you got a Trevor Lawrence or something like that and he's not playing well, so the Jags finish with the first overall pick. Maybe not necessarily them because they got Travis Etienne and Tank Bigsby, but something in that scenario, like the Bengals or something, if they mess around and get the #1 pick, I could see, hey, get you an Ashton Jeanty and rock out. You feel me? See how this offense looks then. But let's get into the stuff that's not necessarily his game. And that's the stuff that's not necessarily his game. Now, moving on. No, I'm just kidding. No, I'm just kidding. It is one thing that I wanted to note because you have to have something. And the only thing I have is necessarily his route tree. That's why I say he's not necessarily a great or the best receiving threat because he doesn't necessarily run any routes or anything like that. And you don't want you know, need your running back too. But with guys in the league like Christian McCaffrey, who's able to line up at wide receiver and beat DBs, and Alvin Kamara, who's able to line up out of the backfield and beat linebackers, things like that, you want to at least note that, hey, if you want to get to that elite upper echelon receiving back to the point where you're damn near a slot receiver, you want to know that, hey, he's not one of those guys. He doesn't have the route tree to be one of those guys. But other than that, there's no weaknesses. So I'm not going to sit here and hold you up like I found any. Maybe somebody else can, but I didn't find any. He's just been that good from the 5-6 games I've watched. So moving on. Now, when it comes to Ashton Jeanty's player build, it's hard to say, but I'm going to just say blue chipper. Matter of fact, cut it. I'm going to say the GOAT. I think he has the potential to be the GOAT running back of this era and maybe a couple other eras, because he's just great at everything. Put him in a correct offense, he's able to do whatever you need, whether you're playing a zone run scheme, gap run scheme, you primarily, or you use him a lot in the receiving game, he's able to do that. He's able to do every single part of the facet of every running back that the new age running back needs, and I think he would be able to be a bell cow power running back of old age. So that's why I say he's the GOAT. And I think he's a blue chip prospect. Blue chip means every single team will have a first round grade on him. I think at the pace that he's going, if all the predictions I said happen, Boise makes the playoffs, he went Heisman, he's going to be a blue chip prospect. I think you would be silly to not think that he can at least go in the late first round at the very least. So that's why I have his player build as the GOAT. Now, when it comes to his shades of, this is what it's impossible, and I'm not going to give you a pro comp at all. I know sometimes I give you the floor, the ceiling. No, I'm not going to give you a pro comp at all. I'm just going to go based off of what he reminds me of for some parts of his game. And one of it is Maurice Jones-Drew, kind of that compact, small running style with the strength that he has, able to break tackles, bounce off of guys, make explosive runs also. He reminds me a lot of Maurice Jones-Drew, from his running style, at least, for the power and contact balance that he does have, and the explosiveness that Maurice Jones-Drew did have in the open field also. I think he's a little bit more explosive, or a lot of bit more maybe, but I kind of like that running style for him. Also, Bijan Robinson, he reminds me a lot of how Bijan was seen coming out, how he's seen as this, hey, this is a top 10 back. He's good at almost everything. He's strong. He has great contact balance. He has great speed. He's great in the receiving game. I feel like Ashton Jeanty kind of reminds me of Bijan, but turned up 10% maybe. Maybe I'm gassing. But I've seen it against my team in action. So I know that Bijan, he was great, but I don't think he's able to take over and will a team, and let alone a team, but an inferior squad into a game with an elite opponent, or almost any opponent really. The way that Ashton Jeanty just takes over games, the fact that he's able to play one half and win his team the game is nuts. So kind of like Bijan, but turned up just to the 10th degree, you know, or the 2nd degree, something like that, 10% higher. And the last one, I can see how he reminds people of Alvin Kamara. Maybe even Jahmyr Gibbs. I don't think this is a good comp for him, but I can see how it looks like Alvin Kamara just consistently is able to bounce off of guys, break tackles, be elusive, have good hands, things like that in the pass game. I can see that. I can see a lot of the arm tackles that Alvin Kamara runs through, how Ashton Jeanty also does it. But I think Ashton Jeanty is so much of a better runner and not as great of a route runner or a pass catcher as Alvin Kamara is. But kind of how I talked about with Maurice Jones-Drew, that the ability to just break tackles and run through arm tackles, things like that, I can see that with Alvin Kamara. None of these are pro comps, so don't get it twisted. None of these are pro comps, but I can see how some of their similarities to some of their games. It's almost like an Ultron thing where you put them all together and then you have Ashton Jeanty. So that's what I think. Like I said, I think he's a blue chip prospect. I think that in the right circumstance, if you have a quarterback already, you may have weapons, or you may not even have weapons. You have a decent O-line or something like that, and you get the first pick somehow, whether it's injury, whatever. I take Ashton Jeanty if you ain't got, even if you have a running back. Like, for instance, the Panthers, I want to take him first overall because I think they have too many holes. I think if they get the first pick, they need to trade back and get as many picks as possible. But let's say the Panthers get the 6th pick and they trade back to 14, 15, whatever. He pick up an extra first next year, however many, or maybe even extra first this year. Let's do that scenario. We get an extra first this year. Whatever your first pick is, BPA. But if somehow at that second first round pick, or somehow in the late teens or in the teens, Ashton Jeanty is right there for the Panthers, yes, I would take him. Him and Jonathan Brooks would be the core of this offense. We would be handing the ball off 30 times a game, 32 times a game, getting both these guys 15, 12 to 16 carries. Whoever has a high hand can have more. That's how I would run that offense. That's how good I think Ashton Jeanty is, and how he can just flip an offense to elite or great on his own. Kind of like how Derrick Henry was for those Titans teams. That's what I think Ashton Jeanty is. But enough glazing. That's the eval on Ashton Jeanty. Maybe I'll update it later on. I don't think I'll have to, because he's just that good. But this has been a real ball watcher. Put your binoculars up. Remember, like this video. Comment what you think of Ashton Jeanty. Am I gassing a little bit too much? You think there's no way he could be a first overall pick? There's no way he could be a top 5, top 10 pick? Whatever you want to say in the comments, say it. Let me know the best team fits for him, anything like that. But share the video. Comment what you think. Subscribe so we can hit 1,000 subscribers and I can get these tickets away. Also, turn on your post notifications. I'll be here every week. I'll just be posting randomly. It's not a set day no more. We're just going to see what I got time for because I got a lot of class and school and work. But we out. See y'all next week.